Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 News First at 4. I'm Amanda Rowley. Whitney is off this evening. Tonight we are following a hoax that caused multiple Spokane schools to go into lockdown earlier this afternoon. KREM 2 News does not normally draw attention to false threats or pranks. Today we are covering the impacts of an active shooter hoax because it caused such a response from local law enforcement and impacted parents and students here in our community. Tonight we are bringing you team coverage on this story. Our Nathan Hyun spoke with parents and students, and our Kyle Simchuk is breaking down police response and how the investigation, as well as the investigation to find out who made the false report. Kyle?
Well, Amanda, as you mentioned, obviously we know this was a hoax. There was no active shooter inside Lewis and Clark High School, and thankfully no students injured. But when that call came out over police radio around 11 a.m. this morning, it was a very serious threat for law enforcement. And according to audio from the police scanner, the person who reported this claimed there was an active shooter inside Lewis and Clark High School and that 6 people had been shot in one classroom. That person called crime check and not 911. Now, Spokane police, sheriff's deputies, even U.S. Marshals swarmed the school, and authorities cleared every room from the top floor down while students and staff sheltered in place. Now, once police learned there was no one injured and there was no shooter, it became clear this was a hoax or a swatting incident where someone reports a shooting or violent crime at a specific address to garner a lot of police activity.
It's something that we're definitely aware of, that have trended in the past as you know, technology evolves and people are able to commit these types of acts with a little bit more anonymity. There certainly have been successful arrests and prosecutions for people that have committed acts like this. So people are being held accountable when they commit these types of crimes.
And similar threats were made at high schools across the state of Montana around the same time this morning. Police still investigating who is responsible and if those threats are connected. Now, police say part of their response today involved placing officers in strategic parts of the city just in case this call was some type of distraction or diversion. Amanda?
All right, thank you for that update, Kyle. Many parents rushed to the high schools once they learned of the alleged shooting. Students inside Lewis and Clark High School felt frightened and confused. KREM 2's Nathan Hyun was one of the first reporters on scene. He joins us live at Lewis and Clark High School tonight. Nathan?
That's right, Amanda. I got here as soon as the call came in. That was around 11:30, where I already saw a very large police presence. There were about 30 police cars on this road right here. And over the first half hour, I saw dozens of parents run up to the street of Lewis and Clark. Some of them were crying, others were holding each other. One parent told me they dropped everything to get to the school when they heard about the police response. Students inside the school were also confused.
I was in the tiger den, and right outside the tiger den there are these like giant glass windows, and so people were like running to them, like looking outside, and we were like, what's going on? And so we look, and there are like policemen running into the building with like AR-15s and giant guns, and we're like, what is going on? Once students and parents were told the 911 call was a hoax, the administration started coming outside of Lewis and Clark to talk with parents. And we also saw dozens of students leave school for their day. And Lewis and Clark did stay open for the rest of the day, but the school did keep outside doors locked as a precaution. Live in Spokane, Nathan Hyun, KREM 2 News.
Meanwhile, we spoke with Superintendent Dr. Adam Swinyard, who spoke on the effects this false alarm will continue to have on students once they return to school.
Incredibly tragic for our kids that they have to endure this type of solicitation of fear and panic in our community.
Of course, we are continuing to track this. For more details on the incident at Spokane Public Schools today, you can always head to our website at krem.com. And now let's shift gears to our forecast now. Several schools did have delays to start after the last night's snowfall. Our chief meteorologist, Jeremy Legoo, is tracking maybe even some more snow this week. Jeremy, what can you tell us?
Oh gosh, it's happening, Amanda. It's one of those ones, give me 1 second here and then
One second, ready?
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much, Amanda.
You're welcome.
That stall was exactly what I needed. All right, let's talk what's going on in the world of weather right now. We've got snow on the ground and believe it or not, more on the way. Pretty widespread across the region. We picked up a few inches yesterday, and temperatures right now are still hovering pretty close to that 30-degree mark. We're at 27 here in Spokane, and that's ahead of that next storm moving in. In anticipation of that storm, we have winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings in effect from tonight through tomorrow. 4 to 9 inches in northern Washington and northern Idaho. 10 to 20 in some of the mountains. That's not a joke. It's really going to be that kind of snow. 2 to 4, pretty widespread. I-90 and a little bit farther to the south. So yes, this is going to be a big one. And there it is. It's already moving in, and it is already hitting the Cascades. Some of that snow trying to move into central Washington, not necessarily happening. But what we do have is more snow in the forecast. Now, the snow moves in big time to the Cascades tonight. By tomorrow, we'll see it spread in here. Notice the timing though, that's 2 a.m. It keeps cranking. By tomorrow, say the 9 o'clock hour, snow is really coming down depending on where you are. We'll see a little bit of wind as well, but watch what happens as we go from the 9 to the 10 o'clock hour. It's snow turning to rain in Spokane. Basically, you can draw a line along Highway 20. You go south of that, it turns to rain and stays that way through the remainder of the afternoon. Now, when it comes to all of the snow across the region, we're talking inches of it. We might actually get a half a foot before it turns over to rain. Some people are facing the threat of freezing rain. I'll walk you through who that is and why I think so coming up.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. Meanwhile, if you're headed toward western Washington, the Snoqualmie Pass is getting a lot more snow. Right now, traction tires are advised on all vehicles traveling in both directions. Oversized vehicles, though, are prohibited. At this hour, the roadway is wet with snow and slush. Tonight, crews are continuing to repair several sections of its concrete barrier after several crashes happened on the pass. Meanwhile, if you live in the city of Spokane, Spokane Valley, and Coeur d'Alene, property owners are responsible for keeping their sidewalks clear and safe. Spokane also puts an emphasis on keeping accessibility ramps clear. That's so those in a wheelchair or who have mobility needs can safely navigate through the winter season. Moscow police are working around the clock to solve the murders of 4 University of Idaho students who were killed last month. The latest major development this week, investigators still want to speak with the people who were inside a white Hyundai Elantra that was near the King Road home at the time of the murders. These are the photos of the type of car investigators are looking for. They believe whoever was in the car could have critical information about this case.
But this is a vehicle that we know was there in those early morning hours, and to have that vehicle and that person in that area, obviously that is someone that could really shed a lot of light on the events that early morning and also in the hours, before the murder itself and the day before, potentially.
At this time, no suspects have been identified and no arrests have been made. If you have any information that can help this case, the tip line number is 208-883-7180, or you can email any tips to the Moscow Police Department at the email address on our website. Spokane police tell KREM 2 they have arrested a juvenile suspect in connection with the robberies in downtown Spokane on Wednesday. The first robbery took place in Riverfront Park. 4 people tried to rob someone at gunpoint. 30 minutes later, a second victim was approached by 2 people who demanded they hand over their personal belongings. One suspect then swung a knife at the victim, causing minor injuries. Police are still searching for the other suspects. And tonight, Yasir Daraji was sentenced to 25 years in prison for murdering his ex-wife and setting her car on fire. Previously, the jury found Daraji guilty of second-degree murder and harassment. Now, Daraji has 30 days to file an appeal. A judge set a new joint trial for Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. They are accused of murdering Vallow's 2 children and Daybell's late wife, Tammy. Daybell's attorney argued the 2 should not be tried together. They asked for Daybell's trial date to start no earlier than October of 2023. Vallow's attorneys asked for a February 2023 start date, saying she has not waived her right to a speedy trial. Ultimately, the judge set the joint trial date for April 3rd, 2023 in Ada County. Well, we've received an update tonight from the Department of Commerce on the size of the homeless encampment near I-90 in Freya. Commerce tells us the camp is shrinking as they move to permanently close the camp. They say about 90 people have left the camp and the unoccupied tents are marked for removal and disposal. That's along with any trash left behind. Commerce says their goal is to move everyone from the camp to safer and supportive housing. Well, growing fear and uncertainty among people living at the homeless camp near I-90 days after authorities handed out flyers saying the camp is closing. Dozens of people showed up for a rally outside Spokane City Hall last night, asking leaders to fight poverty, not the poor. People living at the encampment on I-90 were put on notice this week when authorities made an unannounced visit handing out flyers. Sheriff Ozzie Knezovich says the camp will be cleared out this month, and last month said he doesn't need a judge's permission to do this. Yesterday, Spokane City Council President Brian Beggs called for an executive closed-door session with the city's legal team. Beggs believes removing people without the state's permission could result in lawsuits against the county, city, and even individual officers. He and several other council members want Spokane police officers to distance themselves from the sheriff's plan.
I stand with Camp Hope. I stand with Camp Hope.
People living at Camp Hope were put on notice this week when authorities made an unannounced.
Now, to continue our story on our coverage of Camp Hope, we do know that on Wednesday, Jules Helping Hands and residents of the camp filed for an emergency temporary restraining order in federal court in an attempt to stop authorities from clearing the camp. That decision will be left up to a federal judge.